All right, this video is going to go over how to factor by GCF. So essentially what a GCF is, imagine you had something like 10x plus 25. A GCF is whenever there's something that the first term and the second term, or if there was more terms, something that's shared between them. So something they're both divisible by. In this case, these numbers, both of them are divisible by 5. And so 5 is considered the GCF. By the way, GCF stands for greatest common factor. So essentially what you do is you divide both of these things by 5. So 10 divided by 5 is 2, and I did not mess with the letter x. 25 divided by 5 is positive 5. This would be considered the factored form. That's all GCF is. So let's look at some of these problems. This first one, 8 and 24 are both divisible by 8. Now also, both of these have the letter A. So A is part of your GCF. I guess I should do it in red. So my GCF is 8A. When I take that out, basically you're dividing. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. A squared divided by A squared divided by A is A to the 1. So this is 1A. 24 divided by 8 is positive 3. And A over A is just 1. So it's like 3 times 1, really. You can just leave it plus 3. Like that. So this would be factored form. So this all equals 0. Just like the others, once you have it factored, you can just set each factor equal to 0 and solve it. So divide by 8 to 0 divided by 8 is 0. And on this one, subtract 3. So I got negative 3. And just like with any factoring problem, you should probably plug in these numbers for your A, substitute them in, and just make sure that your answer is indeed 0. Okay, the next one. Both of these things have the letter C. So that's my GCF. Divide them both by C, you'll get C to the 1 plus 5. Whenever you do a GCF, you need to be able to redistribute and get back to your original. That's a good way to check it. C squared plus 5C. See, I got back to my original. So that's just something to think about here. But now that I have it factored, I could set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Okay, the next one, they both have the letter N. So that's my GCF. Divide by n squared over n is just n to the 1. By the way, this 1 is optional. You could just leave it in. And then minus 10n divided by n is just minus 10 now. Now that it's factored, set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Okay, these last 3. Sometimes the GCF can be a little tricky to see, like this one. Both of these numbers are not divisible by 8, so 8's not the GCF. Then I go kind of think about 4. Well, this is not divisible by 4, so I drop down to 2. Both of these numbers are divisible by 2, so that is my greatest common factor. So divide by 2. 8x squared divided by 2 is 4x squared. Minus 18 divided by 2 is minus 9 equals 0. Okay, you might think you're done here. You might think that's factored. This is not fully factored. This right here is a difference of squares. So that's the one where you have to root the 4x squared and root the 9 and write it twice. So like 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. And then don't forget your GCF as well out in front. If you don't know what I just did, you need to go watch my difference of squares video. All right, now you set each factor equal to 0. Well, you're going to have 2 equals 0. Unless it has a variable here, unless there's like an x, you kind of just ignore it. But these other factors would have answers. Like that. Okay, this next one, they're both divisible by an x, just x. You take that out and you would have 100x squared minus 49 equals 0. This is another difference of squares here. So root the first part, root the second part. So the root of 100x squared is 10x. The root of 49 is 7. So this part becomes 10x plus 7, 10x minus 7. And then don't forget your red GCF x out in front. Set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Like that. Generally, also, whenever you're doing these, if you look at the exponent of the highest one, so the 2 there, that's how many answers you should get. So like this one I just did had an x3, and I got 1, 2, 3 answers. So just keep that in mind as well. Now this last one, in my opinion, is a more realistic problem. All these numbers are divisible by 2, and all these things have the letter x. So 2x is my GCF. Divide everything by 2x. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. X cubed divided by x is x squared. 6 divided by 2 is positive 3. X squared divided by x is just x now, or x1. Remember I said that was optional. Negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10, and then x divided by x is 1, so that just goes away. So this is after I take the GCF out. However, this right here is a trinomial that you need to factor. So do the rainbow. I have to find a combo of numbers that multiplies to be negative 10 and adds up to be 3. So the combo you're looking for is 5 and negative 2. Put them over your a value, which is 1 here. And then write parentheses, bottom number, x, top number. Bottom number, x, top number. Don't forget your red GCF from the beginning. Now that it's fully factored, I can set each factor equal to 0 and solve. And that's all there is to it. The biggest mistake I see is, like, if it was a problem like this one, people take the GCF out, but then they'll realize they have to do a difference of squares or something, and they'll get here, and they'll forget this letter x out in front. And so they'll only end up with 2 out of the 3 answers. So try to remember that you took a GCF out, and that's part of your answer when you get to factored form. Hope this video helped.